It's Thursday and the last day of July in 2025, my favorite month of the year coming to a close. Good evening and welcome to the daily happenings in the DC swamp, our federal government and politicians. This is Spathon. FBI Director Kash Patel and Chairman Chuck Grassley declassified the Russia hoax documents that were discovered in a hidden room within the FBI building the other day, and they are being made for public release immediately. And also, Gadyaces Serralta was confirmed today as the new director of the US Marshals Service, and Joe Kent was sworn in today as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center at the Department of National Intelligence. And also, President Trump restores the Presidential Fitness Test and the Presidential Fitness Award for our public schools, which was erased from our public school system during the Obama administration. President Trump also pins letters to American pharmaceutical companies, strongly urging them to charge Americans the same drug prices as anywhere else in the world, or action will be taken. And Secretary Kennedy has announced that so far, 40% of the food industry in America has pledged to eliminate all artificial dyes from their products. And also, NASA's Crew 11 space launch was scrubbed today due to weather, and we'll find out how soon they'll try for the next launch. And we've got more and more and more to look at. But first, I do want to acknowledge that I've noticed a little bit of crackling in the microphone, which I've adjusted the sound levels, and hopefully that fixes the issue. Just saying that I'm aware of it, and I'll keep an ear out for it. So let's dive right in. And by the way, if you enjoy the video, please subscribe, like the video, and leave a comment below if you have any opinions or ideas or criticisms on the upcoming content, and I may bring up your comment on the next episode. All right, so let's head on over to my posts of the evening. So I'm going to start here with NASA. This was about 6 hours ago. Today's launch attempt has been scrubbed due to weather. Our next Crew 11 launch attempt will be at 11:43 a.m. Eastern Time, or 15:43 UTC, on Friday. So that's just tomorrow, August 1st. Our coverage will begin at 7:35 a.m. Eastern Time. I'm looking forward to that, because my day job starts at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'm fortunate enough to at least have it on in the background. So I can occasionally, when I get a moment, I can glance up at it and take a look, and I'll try to make myself available, at least for just a few minutes, to see a launch at 11:43. I love rocket launches. I'm all about astronomy. I'm not too crazy with astronautics, specifically space travel and whatnot. I mean, that's not my favorite subject when it comes to space in general. The same with constellations. I don't know shit about the constellations. I know Orion, and then the Polaris, the North Star, and the Big Dipper, Little Dipper. That's about as far as it goes for me as far as the constellations go. But if you want to talk about anything else in the cosmos, anything, I'll be able to talk your ear off about just about any subject. But if you want to talk about pulsars or quasars or dark matter, dark energy, black holes, supermassive black holes, magnetars, anything like that, anything that's space related, I'm all about that. I mean, I kind of thought about starting another channel talking about just astronomy, which, I mean, I would be all over it, but I honestly just don't have time for it. So, but maybe in the future, I don't know, we'll see. But anyway, speaking of space, it is National Intern Day, because that's totally related to space. And we're celebrating the incredible interns who play a critical role in mission success at every NASA center across the U.S. So these interns are all about space, at least. So if you want to learn more about internships and other ways to get involved in this week's NASA Express newsletter, you can visit this link, which I will have down in the description because I clicked on it. Anything I click on, I put it in the description. So there's some photos and whatnot. They're having fun out there at NASA. Always a good time out there. I live in the state of Florida. I don't live over on the East Coast. I live on the West Coast, but I have been over to the Kennedy Space Center a couple times. It's good fun. It's a great experience, especially if you have kids who are into astronomy. I highly recommend it, especially if they're elementary school age especially. I mean, they'll be absolutely fascinated with everything there. They've got actual rockets from the Mercury missions, from the Gemini missions, the Apollo missions. They've got them all right there on display, like the actual rockets that they used. It's absolutely awesome. Even like the Saturn V rockets and all that good stuff, which I think that was what they used for the Apollo missions, if I'm not mistaken. At least I think they did. the Saturn V's or whatever. So yeah, good times. But anyway, I was just about to say something. The only time that I ever saw I have seen a couple of rocket launches from the West Coast. You can actually live on the opposite side of Florida and actually see a rocket launch into space from Cape Canaveral. The only two that I've seen, there was one, I think they were launching a satellite into space. They weren't astronauts. It was just some routine rocket launch that they were doing. Pretty sure it was a satellite. That was probably back in like 2013 or 14. But prior to that, from downtown Tampa, where I worked at the time, I was able to stand on top of a parking garage and we watched the shuttle launch back in 2008. And that was awesome. You could only see just a little bit. It was down near the horizon. You could only see it if you were standing up on a relatively tall building that overlooked all the other buildings nearby. Or for those who weren't working at the time, which I was because I worked third shift back then, a lot of people gathered along the bay, and looking off to the east, there's just water in front of you. So you've got pretty much the entire horizon right in front of you. So a lot of people would gather and watch the shuttle launches from really far away. It just looked like a little like orange dot that was going up, but it was obviously what it was that we were looking for, the shuttles and the rockets and all that fun stuff. So yeah, you can actually see that stuff launched from the other side of the state, which is cool. But anyway, I'll move on. All right, so let's go to Congressman Eugene Vendeman. Today is National Intern Day, as I just said about NASA. In fact, there's quite a bit of Congress members who are shouting out their interns. Obviously, he's a Democrat. How can you tell? But not just him, but also Congressman Nathaniel Moran and Senator Bill Hagerty and a bunch of others. Rep. Don Bacon showing his interns, more interns. So I was scrolling through the list that I have that I've compiled for our members of Congress that I scroll through on a daily basis on X, preparing for this show. And most of them are just talking about National Intern Day. It was basically just flooded with National Intern Day. So I just thought I would just grab a few just to show you that, yep, they're all talking about National Intern Day. Of course, they're talking about other things. They're talking about the big ugly bill, the big beautiful bill. They're talking about other things that are happening that I'm going to get into. But yeah, a lot of interns are highly appreciated today, which is very cool. I'm glad they're doing that. That's at least one bipartisan thing that's happening today, at least. So this comes from Senator Rick Scott. Let's see. Proud to work with my colleagues to standardize America's food labeling, making our food system more transparent, efficient, and affordable for every American family. So that's good. I'm glad he's doing that. He's my senator from here in Florida. Before that, he was our governor. I'm not crazy about him. I got my own reasons. I don't enjoy watching him be interviewed because he's really good at dodging questions. I guess I'll just leave it at that. With a big old smile on his face the entire time. So, all right. So I'll read just a little bit of this. Again, it's going to be linked in the description if I skip over any of it that you're interested in hearing. So Senator Rick Scott introduces Bipartisan Food Date Labeling Act to standardize America's food labeling. And this was just from today. So from D.C. today, Senator Rick Scott announced the introduction of the Bipartisan Food Date Labeling Act legislation aimed at eliminating confusion around food expiration labels and reducing food waste nationwide. The bill would establish two clear standardized labels, best if used by for quality and use by for safety, in an effort to help American families avoid unnecessary food disposal, save consumers money, boost food donation efforts, and reduce environmental harm caused by food waste. I love this idea. This is something that should have been implemented years and years and years ago. I mean, you might not realize that standard Kraft macaroni and cheese, I know it's not very healthy for you, it's not very good for you, but it's been in our shelves, it's been in our pantries at least at one point or another, for most of us at least. It has the best buy date on it, but it's perfectly safe to eat for up to 2 years after the best buy date. I know this because I go through hurricane seasons routinely, year after year after year, and I've always got that packed away in our pantry for our quote-unquote emergency food supplies and whatnot. And I've eaten it when it was a year expired, a year and a half expired. I've done the same with all kinds of stuff, with vegetables, or canned vegetables and baked beans, and I mean, you've got Google, So you can simply just ask the internet, is such and such still safe to eat? And it'll more or less tell you whether if it's safe to eat or not, if it's beyond the best by date. But I think this is good. Use by, absolutely recommend that. Hopefully there won't be any food companies trying to take advantage of this in any way, such as Kraft macaroni and cheese. If they put on their labeling that you must use by, and then they print 6 months after the best of used by date, because that's not true at all. You can eat it for up to 2 years after the best by date, as long as it's stored at room temperature or in a cool, dark place. So hopefully there's no nefarious business going on with regard to this, because a lot of food companies, they want you to throw out everything once it's beyond the best of used by date, because you go and you buy more. So they're going to essentially, to some degree, they're going to lose money as a result of this, because people are going to hang on to their food for longer. If you hang on to the food longer, you're not going to throw it away as soon, or so soon, and then go out and buy more. So, but anyway, Senator Rick Scott said families across the country are working hard to take care of their families, make good decisions, and put food on the table. The last thing they need to deal with are confusing food date labels that are leading to perfectly good food being thrown away, wasting money and resources. This bipartisan bill offers a clear, straightforward solution to help consumers make smarter choices, reduce food waste, and support food donation efforts. That's a good point, too, food donation, because you know a lot of people who donate food, they're donating stuff that's like a day before its best by date, because a lot of people are cleaning out their pantries, and they're like, all right, well, that one's almost expired, that one's almost expired, that one's almost expired. I know that because I've done it. I mean, I don't deliberately hand out expired stuff, but what I will do, I'll take a can of peas in my pantry, and this can says best by July 2027, and then this other one says best by July 2026. I mean, which one are you going to hand off to charity? I mean, it's probably going to be the 2026 one. All right, so, and I'm proud to work with my bipartisan colleagues to make our food system more transparent, efficient, and affordable for every American family. So if you want to read the rest of that, it'll be linked below. And before I move forward, I actually want to make sure that I'm actually, because now that I'm thinking about it, maybe the Kraft macaroni and cheese is actually, maybe it's only 1 year, not 2 years. Because all of a sudden, now I'm thinking about it, maybe I actually read it was 1 year and not 2 years. But how long beyond expiration date is Kraft macaroni and cheese good for? I know I did not word that very well, but talk to text. There it is. Yep, I was correct. You can look it up for yourself. Kraft macaroni and cheese can generally be consumed for up to a year or even 2 years past its best by date. So I was correct. And the only reason I doubted myself was because I haven't looked that up in months. I believe it was around when Hurricane Milton swept through. I think that's when I actually looked that up, because I was digging through the pantry, and usually what I do is, just like probably anybody else, I try to eat what's closest to the best by date, not the newest stuff I put in there. I try to get rid of the oldest stuff first. And I came across a box of mac and cheese that was just about 2 years expired. Not expired, the best by date. Plus, I at the time, well, no, actually, no, it wasn't at the time. It was about a year ago, I cleaned out my pantry, and I had a whole bunch of stuff that was left over from the COVID era back in 2020, when everything was just going absolutely bananas with the toilet paper bullshit and all that. And just hearing what I was hearing at the time from a slew of different people that I was listening to at the time, I just had the mindset to go out and get a whole bunch of non-perishable foods. I got a lot of sugar and flour and cornmeal and just baking powder and all kinds of herbs and spices. I got a bunch of different things, and I vacuum sealed everything. And actually, a lot of the vacuum seal stuff I still have. Probably should still go through that. But stuff like salt and sugar, even flour. I think flour should be good for quite a while, shouldn't it? If it's vacuum sealed, I would think so. All right. I'm not going to get hung up on that. So this comes from Hakeem Jeffries. I'm sure you're so excited to hear from this guy. What have Republicans been up to this year? Gut Medicaid, take food from children, reward billionaire donors, and privatize Social Security. Oh my God, the horror. Fire the veterans, mask ICE identities, and also try to rig the midterms, those bastards, and release the Epstein files, which they did not do. You know how I know that? Because he put an X there. Because, Democrats, they're so smart. They're so intelligent, I'm not gonna take a jab at the Democrat voters themselves, but the Democrat politicians, they assume that their voter base is so low IQ that they have to associate green check marks and red X's just to make double sure that they're communicating what it is that they support and what they're against. Not that any of this is true in the first place, but it's so childish that he puts green check marks and red X's. So let's just check out a couple of comments. Now, to be fair, I've got a Republican one too that we're going to read here in a little bit, and I'll check the comments on that too. I'm going to try to keep things fair. Which, by the way, I am no Republican. I am no Democrat. I'm a no party affiliate. Obviously, just paying attention to the state of politics in our country over the last several years, and also being graced with a good level head of common sense, I absolutely lean a lot more toward what the Republicans have been doing as opposed to Democrats. Democrats have completely fallen off the cliff. They've gone full-on socialism, adopting communist ideologies, and the whole 9 yards, man. They've gone absolutely fucking ballistic, man. And it's a disgrace because we really actually do need balance in our political system, but they're not reasonable anymore. They're completely on the full side of absolute insanity. With the exception of a few, okay, there's a few good points here and there that I occasionally notice, but for the most part, I mean, there's a reason why they only have a 19% approval rating, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, this comment comes from A. Gene Robinson. Hakeem Jeffries is worried about the Epstein files now? Where was this energy when Epstein was alive? Where was this outrage when Bill Clinton flew 26 times to Epstein Island? Yeah, that's a fair point. Where was your check mark when Democrats sealed the client list? You don't want transparency. You want power without truth. You want black voters without accountability, or black votes, rather. Black votes without accountability. I misspoke. And you want to hide the rot in your own party. Democrats won't bend the knee. You already did to the swamp, to deviancy, and to every enemy of God's order. With all those fun hashtags. To be fair, the whole Bill Clinton flew 26 times to Epstein Island, I guess if you blindly listen to what the government says, well, there are no more Epstein files, so we really can't prove that definitively if Bill Clinton really did fly 26 times to Epstein Island. That would actually be an interesting question for Google. What do you think Google would say? Hold on. Let's see what Google says about this. All right, Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton named in court files. Where's the AI, Google? AI mode. Come on, Google. Yeah, here we go. Google didn't want to answer that one. The AI. Claims about the number of times former President Bill Clinton flew to Jeffrey Epstein's island vary and are subject to ongoing debate. Here's a breakdown of the different claims and known facts. Oh, Bill Clinton, of course he denied it. Well, okay, so Google, since Bill Clinton denied it, it's got to be the gospel truth, correct? I mean, it's got to be. So Bill Clinton's denials. Clinton has consistently denied visiting Epstein's islands, Little St. James and Great St. James in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Didn't Jeffrey Epstein have a painting of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, like smiling, laying on a couch? Maybe that certainly doesn't necessarily prove that he was actually there. All I'm saying, I don't know. Maybe that wasn't in Epstein's island. Maybe that was somewhere else. But I'm pretty sure that that's connected, I think. Let's see. He had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. And so on and so forth. Oh, of course, Google has to throw in the whole Donald Trump thing. Well, Donald Trump, though. Oh, wait. All right. Hold on. Never mind. I should have read it because I thought Google was accusing Donald Trump of going to Epstein Island. All right, hold on. Former President Donald Trump has alleged that Clinton has visited Epstein Island 28 times. All right. To be fair, Google, I'll take that when I stand corrected. This claim is not substantiated by flight logs, according to Clinton's spokespersons. Flight logs of testimony. Okay, so sounds like the flight logs are ironclad, are they? With regard to the whole Epstein files, I would have assumed that the federal government would have said that, we don't have anything, which would include the flight logs. So we do have the flight logs? I mean, is that the government's take? Is that their stance? That we can at least rely on that? So anyway, flight logs, they indicate that Clinton flew on Epstein's planes on at least 9 different dates. Okay, well, both ways, that would be 18, right? Wouldn't that be 18? I mean, he went there. He's got to come back. So we're getting a lot closer to 26. Was that the number? Yeah, 26. So one flight included Clinton, Epstein, and Kevin Spacey. Oh my God, Kevin Spacey. Holy shit. Oh my God, dude. Where's Diddy, though? The freak-offs. I don't know. That's such a disgrace. Fucking Kevin Spacey, man. You were such a good actor, man. What the hell? He was in so many movies that I adored. Once Upon a Time. You know, who was it? I think it was Gavin McInnes. Gavin McInnes once said on a podcast, to the fellas out there, if you're engaging in sexual activity with your wife, your girlfriend or whatever, and if, let's try to keep it G-rated, if boom goes the dynamite a little bit too early, if you have that tendency of not, going as long as you would like to, just picture in your mind when you're in the middle of your experience that you're having, picture Kevin Spacey staring right at you and his face is like 3 inches away from your face. Hold that image in your head and you'll go for like another 30 minutes. I can't say that I've tried that. I just remember him saying that once, and for some reason that stuck with me. But all right, so I'll just leave it there. It sounds like 18 times. That's kind of what Google seems to be suggesting, because it does mention that the flight logs that he went there at least 9 times. Hell, if he went there once, I would say the public would agree that if Bill Clinton went to Epstein's Island only once, that's 1 time too many. Because we don't even really have to use our imagination. We know what the hell was going on out there. How many victims did they count? It was like 1,000. Weren't there like 1,000 Epstein victims or minors that visited the island? Yeah, so, all right. So I'll just read 1 or 2 more. I mean, some of these comments do actually get pretty spicy, and I don't know if they're too hot for YouTube or not, but we've already seen that one in the last few days. Republicans, conservatives, they've been using this a lot because I believe it was CNN who actually put out this image without the color, without the Biden and the Trump part. They just put out the graph and it said something like grocery prices are way higher and because it's all Donald Trump's fault. And then somebody added a couple of shades of color there and pointed out the fact that that's Joe Biden, CNN. And then they deleted the post. How do you like that? So what has Timu Obama been up to this year? Crying incessantly about Trump? Well, you're a fucking liar. Hakeem Jeffries fails to mention that there are more people on Medicaid than ever before, fails to mention that the cuts will be on illegal aliens and people who are not entitled to Medicare, fails to mention that tax cuts are for everyone. What has Jeffries done to assist the federal government in mass deportations? I don't know. All right, well, it's starting to get a little spicy down there, so we'll just go back and go to the next one. I've got quite a few to get through today. I think I've got like 34 or 35 different pieces of information, different posts to go through. This one's from Attorney General Pamela Bondi. Congratulations to my friend Gadyaces Serralta on his confirmation as director of the US Marshals Service. And I'm assuming he starts immediately. And by the way, I say it every day, and I probably don't have to keep saying it, but I will, at least for now. I'm terrible with names. I would make almost a Vegas bet that I said his name wrong. So my apologies, not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just English is just a little bit too ingrained into my head. American English, at least. To me, it looks like Gadyaces. I mean, that's what I see. So apologies if I got it wrong. If you're good at phonetically spelling names, drop it in the comments. Let me know so I can correct myself, and then I'll embarrass myself on your behalf tomorrow. I'll read your comment. Anyway, so this is from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. It was an honor to swear in Joe Kent as the director of the National Counterterrorism Center at ODNI Gov, which is their the office of the DNI Twitter profile or X profile. I'm sorry. I'm kind of old school. I joined Twitter back in 2013 and I used it pretty regularly. So it's kind of hard to let go of that name, using it for so long. Anyway, with 2 decades of military service, including 11 combat deployments, Joe has consistently put country before self. His experience serving as the tip of the spear in some of the world's most dangerous places has given him a deep practical understanding of the threats we face. I'm proud to welcome soldier, father, husband, patriot, NCTC Kent to our leadership team. And That's his handle. So if you want to go there and give him a follow. Actually, I am going to give him a follow because he is now one of our top officials, and I have a specific list of top officials that I use when I do research for this daily show, so that's going to be useful moving forward. Counterterrorism, man, that's got to be dramatic, right? It's got to have some spicy content in there somewhere, at least from sometimes, I guess. So from Senate Judiciary Republicans, in 1 minute, Chuck Grassley breaks down the Russia collusion hoax. The FBI had intelligence indicating the Clinton campaign created the fake Trump-Russia narrative, and Obama's FBI ran with the narrative anyway and used the discredited Steele dossier to investigate Trump. Let me do my volume adjustment because I don't know how loud it's going to be. Here we go.
It actually brings attention to the fact that there was either a Clinton conspiracy to make this happen or a Russian disinformation. But either way, it was an attempt to stop Trump, and it also proves that the FBI had a hand in it. And now, after these 8 years, 3 years of my trying to get the document, we know that there was the Steele dossier paid for by the Democrats and the Clinton campaign.
Was it $16 million?
That it was all effort of total distraction.
Dollars, that is.
To make it look like Russia was playing a very major role in helping Trump to be elected. And now we know none of that was true. And now with this Durham report annex out, it finally proves that the FBI was covering up.
Correctamundo. Absolutely. I don't know how to say correct in Russian. Actually, that's probably not even how you say correct in Spanish. All right, so let's move on to the big one. FBI Director Kash Patel. We uncovered this annex along with thousands of other documents buried in a back room at the FBI, which we did find that out yesterday. This was just 3 hours ago, by the way. It revealed a highly classified piece of the Durham report, evidence that the Clinton campaign plotted to frame President Trump and fabricate the Russia collusion hoax. Holy shit. We worked with Chairman Grassley and declassified the documents immediately. And now the American people can see the truth for themselves. The Russia hoax was a disgrace that President Trump and our country should have never been put through. This should be a step toward justice. There will be more to come. Your FBI will keep being relentless to get the truth out. We're thankful for federal partners, the Justice Department, the CIA, and more. And thank you, Chuck Grassley, for your tireless investigative work. Hell yeah. So, check this out. This is the smoking gun evidence inside the Durham Annex. If it is authenticated by further investigation, it means liberal mega donor George Soros' team knew the whole Clinton plan for Russiagate hoax 4 days before the FBI opened the probe. And so did Obama and Brennan and Comey and probably Loretta Lynch and so on and so forth. So I don't think I can make this any larger. I'll try to make it full screen. I don't know if that's going to... Nah, it's not going to help. Freaking X, man. So that's the best I can do for all you smartphone users. Anyway, I mean, that's how I watch. I always watch YouTube on my smartphone. That's why I try to make all my text as large as possible. So anyway, from Leonard Bernardo, July 27th of 2016. Hi. HRC approved Julia's idea about Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections. That should distract people from her own missing email. Holy shit. Especially if the affair goes to the Olympic level. Are they talking about her 33,000 emails that she deleted? I'm sure that's what they're talking about. The point is making the Russian play a U.S. domestic issue. Say something like a critical infrastructure threat for the election to feel menace, since both POTUS and VPOTUS have acknowledged the fact IC, the intelligence community, would speed up searching for evidence that is regrettably still unavailable. However, there seems to be signs GRU penetration or Surlik 2.0 VPN, Elite VPN, Felix Edmundovich They appear hardly skilled, incompetent, bumbling idiots, as SMB or somebody called them. In absence of direct evidence, CrowdStrike and Threat Connect will supply the media, and GRU will hopefully carry on to give more facts. Holy shit. So that is a bomb, an atomic bomb if I ever saw one. Oh no, it took me back to the top. What the fuck? Come on, X. You trying to do to me? You're ruining everything. So yeah, there you have it. Talk about a bombshell, man. And like they said, there's thousands of these documents that are coming out. I wish they would have linked it. I'm not sure if Director Patel will actually link it on his. I wouldn't think it would. Oh, wait a minute. Is there something else here? Page 22, FBI double standard Clinton intelligence versus Steele dossier. Note, if there had been no change in FBI leadership, FBI Director Kash, these records would still be buried. August 2016, FBI outlined 4 reasons to discredit intelligence about Clinton plan to smear candidate Trump. Multiple layers of hearsay, possible exaggeration, possible editorialization, potential Russian translation errors. Sounds like the FBI official is described in the Steele dossier. But, as we already know, FBI and DOJ leadership Comey McCabe used the unverified opposition research largely funded by the Clinton campaign in the January 2017 intelligence assessment about Russian election interference to meet the high standard at the FISA court to secure surveillance warrants for a Trump campaign aide, which they did. Remember that when they wiretapped the Trump campaign office? The FBI's assessment of the Clinton reports conflicts with that of the CIA, which, as noted above, assessed the information not to be the product of Russian fabrication. So there you have it. And I guess you could pause it. I know it's like really hard to read, but this is going to be on Catherine Hedridge's. Oh, look at that. It looks like he just now reposted that. Catherine Herridge on her X profile. You can go view that over there. Just posted it an hour ago, 5:55 p.m. today. Anyway, let's see. What about this one? Breaking FBI Director Kash Patel discovered a trove of documents related to the origins of the Trump-Russia probe buried in multiple burn bags. The burn bag system is used to destroy documents designated as classified or higher. Sources confirm that the burn bags were found filled with thousands of documents. What was the FBI hiding in those bags marked for destruction? Well, Kash Patel, he already said that they're going to be making these available, so let's see. Another key record from Declassified Durham Annex, page 11. So she's got another one here. Another key record. HRC approved idea Trump and Russian hackers hampering U.S. elections. Distract from her own missing email, ... Analysts well-versed in sensitive intelligence collection stated their best assessment was that the emails in the memorandum were likely authentic. The Russians had, in fact, hacked the emails. And I'm pretty sure they're talking about Clinton's private email server, right? The one that was in that little closet. I know it was a long time ago, but I believe that's what they're talking about. So there's that. I was hoping to see if they linked the... Hold on. Let's see. Full transparency. New declassified... Okay, this might be what I'm looking for. Newly declassified appendix to Durham report sheds additional light on Clinton campaign plan to falsify, tied Trump to Russia and FBI's failure to investigate. Let's see here. Formerly classified Durham Annex. Is that what this is here? Might be what this is. Possibly. I'm just... Oh, wait. Here we go. Read the Durham Annex here. Don't mind if I do. We'll see if... I don't know why it's taken so long. Maybe there's a ton of people who are trying to view it. Because this just came out. When did this come out? I mean, well, they don't have the time, but it like came out like, what, an hour ago? Can't be reached. Connection was reset. Uh-oh. Well, I will leave that open and see if I can try to get that to load at some point during the next, hopefully the next hours. What? Uh-oh, here we go. Downloading file. Uh-oh, here we go. How many pages is this? 29 pages. So this is authorized for public release by Chairman Grassley. So this was released just today. So this is that declassified Durham Annex released by Chairman Grassley. And the other one, is it the same one? Yeah, it's the same one. Okay. All right. And I will absolutely link that in the description if you want to read through it. Obviously, they've redacted quite a bit, but not all that much, to be honest. I mean, if the Democrats were in charge and they were forced to release this exact document, how much black do you think would be on the page? 99.9% of it. All right. So where are we heading to next? All right, let's go back. That's on FBI Director Kash Patel's profile. And we're going to move on to the next thing. So I'm sure that more information is going to come out. So if you want to follow that closely and find out if more information in these thousands of pages come out, anything else that's vital, I would probably keep an eye on either Kash Patel's profile, Chuck Grassley's profile. Plus, there's like John Solomon. There's some journalists out there that I'm sure they're probably digging through it right now as we speak, but it'll probably be all over the headlines and everything. Not left-wing mainstream media, not the legacy media. They're probably not going to be talking about this at all, but I'm sure it's going to be pouring out, especially if there's more bombshell information, for lack of a better word, that comes out in the coming hours, I would assume. But thousands of pages. I mean, it might take a little more than a couple hours to dig through. But I'm glad they immediately declassified it, man. That's awesome. All right, so let's move on to the next thing. Secretary Marco Rubio welcomed Republic of Korea Foreign Minister Cho to the State Department during his first official visit to Washington. Our ironclad alliance is vital to the shared prosperity of our nations and to the safety, security, and prosperity of the Indo-Pacific. So that happened today. Good to see. Good to see good relations happening. Probably talking about the trade deals and all that fun stuff. And this comes from Rapid Response 47 from the president. I'm pleased to announce that we're officially restoring the Presidential Fitness Test and the Presidential Fitness Award. Check this out.
I'm pleased to announce that we're officially restoring the Presidential Fitness Test and the Presidential Fitness Award, and it's going to be a very big thing. From the late 1950s until the 2013, graduate scholars all across our country competed against each other in the Presidential Fitness Test, and it was a big deal. This was a wonderful tradition, and we're bringing it back.
I thought that was Triple H, man. Uh-oh. Nah, it's not. I honestly couldn't tell you who he is. I'm still familiarizing myself with the recently appointed officials and Trump's administration as it keeps coming together. I'm assuming he's in Trump's administration, but I don't know for sure. So let's see. From House Democrats, Trump's tariffs have led to higher prices at the checkout line, and Republicans' big ugly law cuts health care and food assistance for millions of Americans. Reckless Republican policies are leaving American families worse off. Of course, they always try to make it as worse as they possibly can because they can't give Republicans, especially Trump, one single win in any way, shape, or form. So 156 comments. Ratioed, barely, but it's been ratioed. Actually, my grocery bill is lower, but y'all keep spewing lies. Yeah, it's probably gone down a little bit compared to the last few years. I'm sure it's gone down, maybe not by a lot, maybe just relatively slightly. But so House Democrats are, you can fill that one in, who can't get anything done. All you morons do is look for sound bites on social media. You offer nothing of substance, just a broken party with no leader and zero vision for the future. Yep, no matter what kind of a win that Republicans are bestowing upon the American people, the Democrats have to spin it, make it sound like the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of mankind. All right, so Democrats' criminal illegal aliens have caused a 30% increase in every price, doubled crime, and made burritos almost $20 a piece. I'm glad they no longer hold any power. And yeah, I've actually read that statistic also, or that number, that 30% increase in the cost of groceries since, I want to say, 2019. So STFU and go wipe Senator Warren from the floor, you useless guppies. The only thing you Democrats are good at is lying, of course. To be fair, a lot of Republicans lie too, but I get what they're saying. I'm old enough to remember prices skyrocketing while Dems were in charge. Who does American trust more with the economy? This is true. And of course, Doge AI. Doge AI has been replying to everybody, really. Roadrunner insanity is when illegal refugees get $3,874 a month in federal assistance, while Social Security checks average only $1,200 a month. That actually happened. Absolutely insane. So there we are again with the grocery prices and so on and so forth. You got to be living on a different planet with that stupid remark. All right, so this is from Frank Lucas. President Trump wants to cease production of the penny. Those of us in Congress are working to make that a reality. It's not just common sense, it would save taxpayers millions. Rep. Lisa McClain and I explained further. Well, I think where they're getting at is the cost to mint pennies on an annual basis. It costs somewhere around $150 million more than the value of the pennies that they're printing because of the cost of the metal and so on and so forth, plus inflation and everything. So essentially the federal government is losing only with regard to the printing process, though. With regard to printing and minting these pennies, they lose roughly $150 million. Well, we do, the taxpayers, per year. Now, I've heard that decommissioning the penny could also cause other issues, potential inflationary issues on its own, being that businesses, they're going to round up. Obviously, they're not going to round their prices down. They're going to round everything up. So that could cause potential issues. Although I might push back because Walmart, they've for a long time, they've had a habit of not marking their prices at $2.99 or $5.99 or $9.99. They usually set it at what, like $3.92 or $3.93. Walmart's really the only place that I've ever seen who does that. So maybe at Walmart they might make it $2.95 because they can't do the offhand number. It's got to be in fives if they're getting rid of the penny. So it has to be $2.95 or $3 or $3.05 or what have you. But since nobody will be able to list their prices at $2.99, $5.99, $10.99, maybe they will actually roll back to $3.95, $7.95, so on. So maybe as far as pricing is concerned, rounding the penny, they might actually round it down, possibly. So this is from the Washington Examiner. I think they paywall a lot of stuff, but I clicked on this earlier and it wasn't paywalled, although I looked at it on my phone and not on my computer. So, yep, they did. They paywalled it. Motherfuckers, man. And the White House, they regularly, they cite the Washington Examiner often, and that irritates me because the government, it's fine if they want to cite a source or any mainstream media source, but they shouldn't be citing sources for media outlets that paywall their content. It pisses me off. So anyway, the American penny or the 1-cent piece, if you ask a coin collector, was once a standard item of exchange in everyday commerce. Now, many see it as junk to be discarded. Not me, really. I save it. I got a bunch of pennies. I got a lot of pennies. Been saving pennies for years. In fact, Americans throw away up to $68 million in coins every year, much of which are pennies. Well, that's really stupid. With our national debt approaching $37 trillion, there's an urgent need to reduce government waste and inefficiencies meaningfully. At a time when slashing such waste is the rule of sound policy in Washington, there's perhaps no form of waste more egregious than the production of the penny. It is outdated, inefficient, and no longer serves the needs of our economy. So does this mean that if we have pure copper pennies that we can actually melt down the pennies and keep the copper? Because I have a lot of copper pennies. I've got like thousands. I've got like 10,000. I've got a lot. So, because I've been collecting copper pennies for a long time. Any pennies that are minted prior to 1982, if I'm not mistaken, I believe it's 1982. But any pennies minted after 1982, they're made of like 95% zinc, I think it is. But anyways, lawmakers on the House Financial Services Committee, it is abundantly clear to us that this effort is long overdue. President Donald Trump agrees. This spring, he issued an executive order prohibiting the Treasury Secretary from minting more pennies. In Congress, we are working to codify this into permanent law. From a cost efficiency perspective, this is common sense. So yeah, for the very extremely few people out there that have collected copper pennies, I'm assuming if they do away with the penny, then that would essentially give us the green light to melt that down into copper. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot because copper's not, I mean, what's copper worth today? It can't be worth that much. Like, what, $3 a pound maybe? How do they do it? Do they do it by pound? Ounce, pound, kilogram? $3.40, or, oh, wow, $4.37. No shit. Oh, that's up a lot, man. Pretty sure it's up a lot. It's been a while since I've looked at it, but I think that's up quite a bit. September 24th. No, it was the $4 back then too. What? All right, maybe I was wrong. Yeah, it was hovering around $4. I mean, shit, man. It looks like it's heading up to $5. July 2025, the high $5.95, $4.97. I don't know. It says it's $4.44 right now. So yeah, if you have 100 pounds of pennies, which is probably about like $150 worth of pennies, if they're copper, they got to be copper. So they have to be pre-1982 or 1983 or whatever. Yeah, if you got that much in pennies, you know, you're gonna have what, 100 pounds, like $450 worth of pennies, or copper, I mean, that you could have melted down, I guess. Of course, it's probably gonna cost money to melt it, but all right. So yeah, pennies, man. It's like they're getting rid of them. It's going to be a relic. All right. So from NHTSA Gov, use your license plate or VIN number to check for vehicle safety recalls. Looks like an ad. It's not an ad. If you drive a newer car, whether if it's a 2025 or a 2020, they're issuing recalls all the time. I'm sure anybody who owns a car that was manufactured at least from 2020 onward, I'm sure you've gotten recall letters because the cars that they make today are just atrocious. They're building them absolutely like shit these days. But you can actually go to nhtsa.com/recalls and it takes you right here. Plug in your VIN right there. And you plug in the VIN, you hit search, and it pops right up. Doesn't cost anything. It's a government website, nhtsa.gov. Because just because you get a letter in the mail, it doesn't necessarily mean that your exact vehicle is subjected to a recall. They're just letting you know that the make and model of which you drive has a recall that's out there, which I think it's just kind of silly. I don't know why they don't just send out letters to the specific people who are affected by it, but I don't know, whatever. You think they'd save a lot of postage by doing that. So anyway, yeah, my mom, she drives a Honda. It's a newer Honda. What is it? It's a crossover. I think it's a 2024. And it's HRV, SRV, I think it's an HRV, something like that. It's a crossover. And she recently, just about a week ago, she got a recall letter in the mail. And I was talking to her the other day, and she said that was like the 4th or the 5th one that she's gotten in like the last year. And she mentioned she went to get the last recall taken care of, which did affect her car, and she had to wait 3 hours for them to fix it. And what did she say? I think the time before that, I don't know, one of those times that she went up there, she took her car up there and they said, okay, well, your car's not affected by it. So she basically just wasted the drive going up there just for them to say that, yeah, we ran your VIN and your vehicle's not affected, so you don't have to get it fixed. So then I mentioned to her just the other day, you can go to nhtsa.gov and you can plug in your VIN number, which is right there on your windshield, and it'll tell you. That way you don't have to drive all the way back up to the dealership and deal with that. So having noticed them just post this 5 hours ago, that instantly came to mind. I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about that for a minute. So yeah, you can check that out. You don't have to drive up to the dealership to deal with it. You can just deal with it on your phone. Just plug it in. Figure it out. All right, from the GOP, President Trump is working to make America affordable again. So that's in response to Rapid Response 47, President Trump's action to reduce drug prices for Americans. Now this one it's a little bit of a long read, but I know most people are very concerned with the cost of prescription drugs. And this is directly related specifically to that. And I really hope this ends up happening. I'm assuming he has the power to make this happen under executive order authority. So let's get into this. This is some good news. Definitely is. So today, President Donald J. Trump sent letters to leading pharmaceutical manufacturers outlining the steps they must take to bring down the prices of prescription drugs in the United States to match the lowest price offered in other developed nations, which is known as the Most Favored Nation, or MFN price. These steps include calling on manufacturers to provide MFN prices to every single Medicaid patient, also requiring manufacturers to stipulate that they will not offer other developed nations better prices for new drugs than prices offered in the United States. Awesome. Also providing manufacturers with an avenue to cut out middlemen and sell medicines directly to patients, provided they do so at a price no higher than the best price available in developed nations. Also using trade policy to support manufacturers in raising prices internationally, provided that increased revenues abroad are reinvested directly into lowering prices for American patients and taxpayers. This would be an epic win. The letters inform manufacturers that if they refuse to step up, the federal government will deploy every tool in our arsenal to protect American families from continued abusive drug pricing practices. These letters were sent to AbbVie, Amgen, AstraZeneca, Boehringer, Ingelheim, Bristol Myers Squibb, Eli Lilly, EMD Serono, Genentech, Gilead, GSK, Johnson & Johnson, Merck, Novartis, Novo Nordisk, Pfizer, Regeneron, and Sanofi. Most of those I've never even really heard of, to be honest. I've heard of Johnson & Johnson. I've heard of Merck. Pfizer, of course. I've heard of Eli Lilly because they're in Indianapolis. My uncle used to work for them, as a matter of fact. He was a higher up. Anyway, AstraZeneca, of course. But yeah, the other ones I haven't heard of. But anyway, they're on notice. They're all on notice. They got to get their drug prices down because it's fucking retarded, man, that they're allowed to sell pharmaceutical drugs to another country outside of the U.S. for 5% of what they're charging Americans for those drugs. So they can go over to, I don't really have a good country to name offhand. I don't know. Let's say Portugal. They sell drugs over to Portugal for 5 cents a pill. But here in America, we got to pay $1 a pill. It's bullshit. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's how is that not price gouging the American people? It fucking is, man. Especially when here in America, if not for America, they would have never developed those drugs. But the technology, the innovation, the strong economy, the protection of our military, I mean, all of these things that coalesce into their ability to manufacture these drugs, and that's how they repay us. Slap us in the face with these big, expensive-ass drug prices. It's absolutely appalling, man. They've gotten away with it for long enough. So anyway, ending global freeloading on American pharmaceutical innovation. President Trump is taking decisive action to rebalance a system that allows pharmaceutical manufacturers to lower prices, or to offer low prices, rather, to other wealthy nations while charging Americans significantly higher prices. According to recent data, the prices Americans pay for brand-name drugs are more than 3 times the price other Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development nations pay, even after accounting for discounts manufacturers provide in the U.S. The United States has less than 5% of the world's population, yet roughly 75% of global pharmaceutical profits come from American taxpayers. Yeah, let that sink in. Drug manufacturers benefit from generous research subsidiaries and enormous healthcare spending by the U.S. government. Instead of passing that benefit through to American consumers, drug manufacturers then discount their products abroad to gain access to foreign markets and subsidize those discounts through high prices charged in America. Americans are subsidizing drug manufacturer profits in foreign health systems, both in development and once the drugs are sold. All right. Okay, yeah, so we don't have a whole lot more to go through. So once again, delivering on promises to put American patients first. Today's letters are an important step in President Trump's work to get Americans the best deal in the world on prescription drugs. On May 12th of 2025, President Trump signed an executive order titled, quote, Delivering Most Favored Nation Prescription Drug Pricing to American Patients, end quote, directing the administration to take numerous actions to bring American drug prices in line with those paid by similar nations. Following the order, the administration engaged pharmaceutical manufacturers in discussions to achieve MFN pricing in the United States. Today's letters indicate that industry proposals have fallen short, and from this point forward, President Trump will only accept from drug manufacturers a commitment that provides American families immediate relief from vastly inflated drug prices and an end to the free riding by European and other developed nations on American innovations. Absolutely, man. This is awesome. President Trump has been relentless in his effort to address the unfair and outrageous prices Americans pay for prescription drugs. President Trump, quote, "In case after case, our citizens pay massively higher prices than other nations pay for the same exact pill from the same factory, effectively subsidizing socialism abroad, with skyrocketing prices at home. So we would spend tremendous amounts of money in order to provide inexpensive drugs to another country. And when I say the price is different, you can see some examples where the price is beyond anything, 4 times, 5 times different," end quote. So there you go. That is unbelievably amazing. Hopefully that will actually reduce our insurance rates, hopefully, because it's not just prescription pills, man. It's across the board. You know how much a hospital charges for you to get an IV, just a simple IV for them to administer it? It's like $700, $800 just to get an IV. The cost to manufacture an IV, the saline, it's just fucking water. The saline, the plastic bag, the plastic tube, the little spring inside the needle, the little needle itself, the whole thing, the whole kit, the IV kit, what, $10, $15 that it costs to manufacture each one of those? Plus, you got to use the nurse's time. Takes a nurse like 2 minutes to administer an IV. They get paid, I don't know, what, $50 an hour or something. So you're talking like just a few dollars worth of the nurse's time. So the hospital, it's costing the hospital like $15, let's say $20 on the high end for this IV, including administering it to a patient. But yet, the hospital is billing your insurance company $800 for an IV. It's absolutely insane, man. So I don't know. I don't like the idea of price fixing, of course. I mean, that never usually ends up very well at all. However, this is a nice step. I mean, if we can't go as far as to getting IVs under control and all those other healthcare goods and services that we've been hyperinflated on, I mean, at least we can start with prescription drugs. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. God willing, that'll be done, especially this year. And he mentioned the word immediate. So if you have to take prescription drugs on a daily basis, hopefully the next time you pick up your prescription, it might be 5 times cheaper. That'd be really nice. If nothing else, it might be multiple times cheaper for your insurance company, which in the long run, hopefully, they may drop the cost of healthcare insurance. That would be nice. You know, unless they do things like what Hershey's does and take advantage of the supply chain shortage and driving up the cost of chocolate when they didn't have to pay any more for any of the goods that required to make their chocolate. They admitted to doing that. And it wouldn't surprise me if the healthcare industry did the same thing with insurance. The insurance industry, even though that the cost of everything has gone down, they're not going to move the cost of your insurance policy because, well, the Americans are already used to paying that amount, so why would we drop it? You know, that kind of bullshit happens all the time, man. All right, so from the GOP, President Trump announces the newest members of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. Here we go.
Well, I'm delighted to be here with some of the truly great sports legends of all time as we formally announce the newest members of the President's Council on Sports, Fitness, and Nutrition. This is an important step in our mission to make America healthy again. It's something that's very important, what we're doing, very important. Dating back to the administration of President Dwight D. Eisenhower, this council has championed the vigor and strength and vitality of the American people.
All right. Well, if we heard some of that before, I needed a few second break to get a drink of water, so that worked out for me. Anyway, from the U.S. Department of Energy, wind and solar require backup from peaker gas plants or batteries, which cost more than 3 times as much as base load power. Adding more dispatchable resources to the grid can actually increase price spikes and power shortages. A common sense approach to America's energy sector is what will help secure our grid. Dude, this whole renewable energy initiative, it was such a massive scam, an absolute ridiculous scam. Just the thought that they were going to power major American cities on essentially batteries, because it's not sunny every day in places where they're depending on solar, and it's not windy every day in areas that depend on wind. And even if you combine the two, there's cloudy days without the wind. And to be able to provide that, they have to either do what they're talking about here in this post, or they run batteries, which is, it's insane. It's ridiculous. And it costs trillions and trillions of dollars. Nuclear energy, hydroelectric energy. I mean, we've got these old ass systems that are perfectly fine. I mean, with nuclear energy alone, man, the return on investment with nuclear is way better than wind, and even better than solar, I think. I mean, solar might give you a better return on investment initially, maybe in the first couple of years, but in the long run, no, man. Come on, the only game in town with regard to profits is nuclear. All right, so another one from Senate Democrats. In Trump and MAGA Republicans America, veterans, seniors, and children with disabilities, they lose their health care. Also, the rich can get richer. Oh, no. Oh, man. Do we have to suffer through this for 2 minutes? Well, I queued it up. I guess I'll have to suffer it.
Now,
Let's
I
see what
hope
they
my
say.
Republicans can answer how they could take from veterans, seniors, and children
They're given to veterans.
with disabilities just to hand more money to the top 0.1%. The top 0.1%.
He can't even say this shit with a straight face. Look at this asshole. He's fucking smirking while he's saying this. Okay, dude. In the next 10 seconds, I certainly hope that he's actually going to use his index finger and point on his paper where in the bill it specifically does this. Point to the big ugly bill, the big atrocious bill, the big apocalyptic bill, whatever the fuck they're calling it today, and tell us where in this bill is it taking money away from veterans and handing it up to the top 0.0001% of the elites.
They're the wealthiest people in America. That's who
I'm sure
were
your pockets
rewarded
are not
with the taking of
empty.
this money. Senate Democrats are offering Republicans another chance to reverse the devastating cuts they just passed.
They are so fucking vague. And I did another one just yesterday with a Democrat talking about passing this bill with regard to housing, how they're going to make housing affordable for the middle class. Vague as all hell. Democrats are always like this. If you closely pay attention to how they're getting their messaging out, they couldn't possibly be more vague. It's generic, it's vague, they don't point to anything, and they don't tell you how or where or why.
Cuts that will close rural hospitals and decimate
That's fake news.
Medicaid.
No, actually, the big, beautiful bill, they did acknowledge that making cuts in certain areas, which I think they're not making cuts by eliminating people from Medicare except for illegal aliens, but they do recognize that cuts in healthcare, taxes or like revenue and subsidies and what have you, it will potentially have a negative effect on rural hospitals, which is why they allocated $50 billion to be put toward rural hospitals across America to help offset those losses if they were to incur those losses. We don't know if they are going to incur those losses, but they've got a $50 billion safety net that's built into the bill, which Democrats, they conveniently leave that out.
Because Republicans have turned health care into a privilege only reserved for the most wealthy in the country.
Oh, give me a
not
fucking
the way
break,
it's
dude.
always-
Obamacare did that, dude. Obamacare did that. I challenge you to go to, what the hell is it? The Affordable Care Act website. I don't remember what the hell it is right now. Or healthcare.gov. Is that what it is? You can go there and it might only be during times of open enrollment, but you can go in there and you can do a quote on how much your insurance will cost. They have a silver plan, a gold plan, a platinum plan. If you select the platinum plan, that plan is what our insurance prior to Obamacare, whatever, 2011, 2012, whenever it was. Remember back in the 2000s, our healthcare back then, when our copays were $100 for the ER, $250 for inpatient, $35 for a specialist, $50 for immediate care, and $20 for your PCP. There were no deductibles. You didn't have to pay any percentages. You didn't have some like $8,000 cap that you had to meet each year. None of that bullshit. If you got injured, God forbid, and you had to be laid up in the hospital for a month, an inpatient, it was $250. That's it. Now, you can still get a plan just like that under Obamacare, under the Affordable Care Act, but it'll shock you to see how much it'll actually cost on a monthly basis. Now, the last time I checked, I was roughly probably 37 years old at the time, so not exactly at the prime of my life, but a man in his 30s, you know, I'm not elderly, so it shouldn't cost all that much. Well, regardless, it was $1,500 a month. And this was years ago. This was like 4 or 5 years ago when I checked last time. So give me a fucking break when you're talking about this whole, like, healthcare is unaffordable because it's all Republicans' fault. Bullshit. It was Obamacare that fucked everything up in the healthcare industry, in my opinion.
60 years ago, Democrats and Republicans on this very floor, they came together to save seniors living in poverty.
Dude, y'all walked away from the table. Y'all fell off the fucking socialist leftist fucking cliff, man.
Health insurance. They couldn't see a doctor. This promise our government made to our nation has saved millions from illness and undue financial burdens. Senate Republicans broke that promise to the American people.
Please tell us how.
Senate Democrats know that every American needs health care to survive. Earlier this month, Senate Republicans all voted to gut Medicaid and...
Rights can't cost money, dude. Democrats say that all the time. Healthcare's a right. It's a right. Every American has a right to healthcare. No, you don't, because healthcare is not free. Rights can only be free, because if you made healthcare an actual right that you written, I don't know, into an amendment of the Constitution, it's going to be at somebody else's expense. You're going to effectively be taking away rights from others, like doctors or other healthcare professionals, because, well, I don't have any money, so you just have to give me healthcare anyway. I mean, that's not how rights work. Rights, you cannot have a dollar sign attached to a right.
The Affordable Act. So, Democrats, we're all standing here today.
You know, like, you have the right to own guns, but if you can't afford a gun, you can't afford a gun. Does that mean you don't have the right to have a gun? No. You still have the right to have a gun, but you still have to go out and buy one.
To do what's right. Our bill will restore the Affordable Care Act's premium tax credits.
Okay. So he said our bill is going to restore the Affordable Care Act's premiums, blah, blah, blah. But let's see if he actually tells us how that's going to happen, or what specifically is going to be put into this bill that's actually going to get something done that might benefit a single person.
Which will bring down costs. It will reverse...
Well, that's generic. It's going to bring down costs. It's going to help lower costs to Americans, because Americans are struggling. Thank you very much. And that's
cuts to Medicaid, remove red tape, and prevent...
Generic, remove red tape. How? How is it going to remove red tape? And what red tape do you speak of exactly? Of course, they're not going to talk about that because he's full of shit.
The closures of rural hospitals.
Yeah, you angrily turn that page.
So I urge my Republican colleagues, vote for your constituents.
You are full of shit.
Save our rural hospitals.
Do the political fist. Up, down, up, down. Let's see your thumb up on top of your fist.
Let's work together and reverse the damage of the Republican budget betrayal.
Yeah, whatever, dude. You didn't tell us jack shit. Nothing as usual. I'm not even going to go into the comments on that one. All right, so let's move on. Let me make this a little bit bigger so it's easier to read. So, Secretary Linda McMahon. The Trump administration is dismantling decades of woke control over America's universities. Major wins at Brown, Columbia, and UPenn are restoring higher education as a place to learn, not to indoctrinate. Very good news indeed. Let's hear it.
Yeah, we definitely are. I mean, we've had 3 great triumphs, I think. If you look at Columbia, that was, I think, the biggest deal that we announced. They will pay a $200 million fine and then a $20 million fine that'll go into a fund to pay for
should be higher, but we'll take
those were abuses in hiring. And so that was an incredibly big deal at Columbia. And it also dealt with having protests on campuses. You can protest as long as you have peaceful protests, but you can't wear masks.
And I think what they should have done was investigate the faculty, and they should have fired every single professor who pushed for this to happen. Because, like, these students, they're not just learning it from the news. These students that are being politically active turn into these activists and these NPC drones that go to these riots and these protests, wave the stupid Palestine flags, and like screaming like LGBT for Palestine and all this stupid bullshit that they've been doing. They're not learning that just from watching the news or watching a TikTok video. They're learning it from their fucking professors, man. That's where they're learning it. They're learning it from the faculty. and they should have been investigated, and they all should have been shit canned.
You have to wear a mask for religious purposes.
And barred
then
from
you have
ever
to
being a
have your
professor
ID
anywhere else
that you're
anywhere in the
willing
country.
To show. And there were just many parts of that Columbia deal that I hope will become the template for others. We're still negotiating with Harvard.
Fire the professors.
But we also had a great success, with University of Pennsylvania in getting rid of the Title IX violations, and they apologized to the women whose title.
So they're going to get rid of these policies, and they're going to make sure that they keep things under control with regard to this extremism that's going on. But they're not getting rid of the root of the problem, and that's these far left-wing communists that they have teaching these courses in these classes. So if they are continued to be allowed to teach in there, it's not going to fix anything. They're essentially just going to hide better. If anything, this just pisses off these professors more than they were already pissed off in the first place, and now they're going to teach even more extreme rhetoric, most likely.
It was taken away.
They get rid of them.
Took the title away from Leah Thomas, the man who was competing in women's swimming.
Really?
So we've had some really...
They did? I didn't know they did that. They took the title away from Leah Thomas? Let's
big
go.
Successes, not only with Columbia, with University of Pennsylvania, and then yesterday signing the Brown University deal, in which they also are paying a fine of $50 million. As you mentioned earlier, Mark, they will be investing that money on workforce development programs in the state.
Good.
They also have agreed on the Title IX. And defining women as women and men as men. So these are really big accomplishments for three big universities where...
frankly, it's pretty pathetic. It's absolutely ridiculous where we've become as like where we are right now as a country, where we have to pass federal legislation or we have to define what a man and a woman is. It is just brain dead lunacy. And that's really what the left wants. They just want to sow the seeds of confusion and try to take some of our most fundamental words and just make it into just nonsensical jargon. They just want to confuse you to the point where you don't even know what's up and what's down, because it makes it a lot easier for them to seize power. And it's just like with that Latinx bullshit. It's something like 2% of all Latin Americans, Hispanic Americans, identify as Latinx or support it in any way, shape, or form. The other 98% say that it's just brain-dead retardation. Like trying to get rid of the romanticism of the language, get rid of the O's for the men and the A's for the women with regard to Spanish. You just can't do it. If you actually try to use this Latinx language and you try to speak it or even write it, it's just nonsensical jargon. It's gibberish. And the same with all these 72 pronouns and all this shit. Someone who's referred to as they and them, I've heard somebody mention this before. Try someone who's a best-selling author, try to write a book involving 2 or 3 main characters whose pronouns are they and them. Try to write a story with 15, 20 chapters, and once you're done, publish it and see if anybody who reads that book can make any sense of what the fuck's going on in the book. It's nonsense. It makes no freaking sense. It's stupid.
As I say, I'm hoping Harvard is going to stay at the table for negotiations. Yeah. And then we have several other investigations going on as well. But these are big wins.
All right, man. Big wins. Epic wins. That's good. And those aren't the only universities doing that, so I hope they keep going with it. I know they got to hit it the hardest, or the top ones first, hit them hard, make an example out of them, and hopefully the rest of the university system will reverse course. I guess they'll have to keep an eye on them just to make sure that all this extremism is done away with, hopefully. But if the Democrats get back into power in, let's say, 3 years or 7 years or what have you, do you think that they're just going to reverse course and start peddling this bullshit again? Probably. It wouldn't surprise me. Unless whatever they're enacting, the fines and everything is like truly permanent and they really honestly legally can't do anything. Like that's what they really have to do. They have to enshrine all that shit into the law so they don't repeat this in the future again. All right, so from the Bureau of Western Hemisphere Affairs, I believe. Yeah, Western Hemisphere Affairs. Cuba's economy is controlled by military-run companies like GAESA and CIMEX, and FINCIMEX. These are powerful arms of a regime profiting from repression and rigged trade. These aren't businesses. They are tools of authoritarian power. Meet the CEOs. There they are. The soldiers. So yeah, that was on my feed today, so I figured I'd make a mention of that. All right, so from House Republicans, deranged Democrats are protecting violent illegal aliens instead of American families. House Democrats would rather defund ICE than defund taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal aliens. And that's in response to Congresswoman Delia C. Ramirez. It's time to hold ICE accountable. It's time to defund ICE. I said what I said. So she's all for illegal immigrants. Let's hear what she has to say about that.
It's time to escalate or fight back or push back against this fascist government. That's right. It's time for us to reconsider.
It's the Democrats who are fascist. There's no truth but power. That sounds a lot more like Democrats.
What ICE is all about.
That's loud. So?
It's not going to Medicaid. You know where it's not going? It's not going to higher education. You know where it's not going? It's not going to nutrition. You know where it's not going? It's not going to infrastructure. It's not going to the communities that need it for their daily quality of life.
Well, of course they don't. She neglects the fact that 79% of Americans are in support of mass deportation. Plus, if you deport 20, 30 million adults that live, they rent, they got to live somewhere. So if you deport all of them, guess what happens to our housing situation? Rents go down. The costs go down. Even our utilities, they go down because there's not so much demand on our electricity and our water and all those other utilities. So anyway, I said I'd go through the comments because I did on the Democrats, so I'm going to go through the ones on the Republicans too with regard to the deranged Democrats. And American flag and a heart. There's the Doge AI, as always. It'd be awesome if House GOP wanted to support President Trump as much as Dems support criminals. Ooh, uh-oh. FBI resources, August 2019 to December 2024. 192,000 man-years, 55 billion. Alrighty. Pocahontas. I'm not going to read all that, but I'm sure there's a point to be made in there. So... let's see, their shit is infuriating. They are all insufferable. Is she legally here? Uh-oh. Communist propaganda, deport. Come on, your law is no better. You all lie to protect yourself and your job, to stay in Taco Trump's good book. Ooh. All right, spicy. It's time to defund Republicans. Uh-oh. Stop with the false concern now. You both let them in because you made money off the investment. Nobody is that stupid anymore, you traitors. Let's see. Funny, I've not seen nor read any illegal criminals being arrested, just those working in fields and jobs most Americans don't want. No, actually, here, let me see. Let me show you my feed here. Just to see if I can try to debunk that. Where's my list? Here we go. Let's see. Government. Because let's see, ICE and border protection, and they're constantly... Oh, wait, hold on. That's on my profile. What? I thought it was on my list. What the hell? Where did they go? Here we go. Lists. Must have clicked on something. Oh, I think I clicked... Okay, yeah, I clicked on my profile. Whoops. Let's see. Military. Here we go. This is from Homeland Security. 14 minutes ago. Okay, minutes. A sick criminal, illegal alien male, released into America by the Biden administration is now facing criminal charges for the rape of a minor in New York City. Thanks to failed sanctuary policies and Biden's open border agenda, this serial criminal was freed to prey on innocent American children. But that ends now under President Trump and Secretary Noem. Just today. I mean, friggin' 14 minutes ago, they posted that, Homeland Security. So there you have it. Check out this one. Look at this one. Also 14 minutes ago from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I'm telling you, dude, they're posting this shit all day long. I see dozens and dozens and dozens of these criminal illegal immigrants getting posted right here on X for all to see. Say goodbye to Eduardo Antonio Escobar Garcia, a child molester from Honduras. Eduardo gets a one-way ticket home on ICE Air. So there's that asshole. So he's heading out. I mean, should I really have to go any further? I mean, those are just two right off the bat, just in the last 15 minutes. So just to kind of debunk that comment there. So there you have it. Dems are not a political party. They are a crime syndicate. from James Childress. So these congressional members actively support not obeying the very laws that they are responsible for enacting, right? Okay. And then they ask themselves why they are losing elections and positions of power. Well, see, it's time for ICE to work 24/7. Catch these people at home, at work, traveling to work, going to the grocery store, shopping wherever they're going to be. ICE needs to be there 24/77 days a week, or 24/7. You all are nuts. The fact you passed that stupid bill so he can use money toward that plane he should have never expected, and he wants to make a gold ballroom. You all will pay people are pissed off as hell. You will see in election time. Dude, you got to work on your grammar, man. You suck at grammar. The law is on our side. Citizens do not have to fund aliens belonging to other countries, not paying Mexico's bills. It's time to hold the deranged accountable. It's time to get rid of her. A lot of Epstein talk, POTUS, and so on and so on. What are you requiring Speaker Johnson to do about it? Let's see. If you actually went after the truly violent illegals, which they are, and not mass amounts of soft targets, they wouldn't be as upset. Trump lied to everyone, plain and simple. Nah. Nope, he didn't. They're going after everyone, but they're trying to go after the most violent first. But they're also going after, apparently, they're going after large groups of illegal immigrants where they can be found. I mean, they're just trying to get rid of them as quickly as possible because thanks to the Biden administration, we have, 20 million, 25 million? If you do the math, they essentially have to apprehend tens of thousands a day in order to deport the same number as those who came in over the last 4 years. Plus, there's plenty who came in prior to the Biden administration, too. So there's a lot. There's a lot to go after. All right. So from Rapid Response 47, Press Secretary, what we are watching is POTUS rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world and simultaneously proving the so-called economic experts wrong at every turn. Here we go. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
Rebuilding the greatest economy in the history of the world and simultaneously proving the so-called economic experts wrong at every turn.
Everyday
Media
middle-class
pundits
Americans
said a trade deal with the EU this monumental and beneficial to America would be impossible, but President Trump made it happen. The so-called economic experts repeatedly said that the American economy would be in a recession this summer. Well, summer is here. Yep. It's almost over. And that recession does not exist. Yesterday, in fact, real GDP growth in the second quarter increased.
I mean, look, I'll push back immediately, and I will mention that grocery prices are still unaffordable for a lot of people. Basically, anybody who's on a fixed income, especially senior citizens, they are drowning. Plus, there's a lot of recent college graduates. There's a lot of younger Americans, a lot of Gen Z that are trying to get out on their own, and they're being met with $400,000 house prices. They're being met with $2,000, $3,000 a month rent, and the utilities are way up. Everything is very expensive still, and we got to have some relief in it somewhere, whether if it's housing or whatever it might be. The average new vehicle is like $52,000. The average new car price monthly is $740 a month. That's average new car price. The average used car price, get a load of this, the average used car price currently right now is $550 a month. Fucking insane. So the economy, yes, it's getting better. Trump he's absolutely making things better. He's bringing trillions of dollars over the long term worth of tariffs to our country, trillions of dollars worth of investments from European Union, from South Korea, from other countries. So he is doing a lot. He is doing far more than probably any other president before him has done as far as trying to get our economy back on track. But so far, as of right now, the middle class is still suffering in a very terrifying way, for lack of a better word. I mean, everything is just significantly more expensive thanks to the Biden administration and thanks to the freaking lockdowns and the COVID relief checks and the rent moratoriums. And what else was there? There was the unemployment, the furloughs and all that. Like, people were getting $750 a week during COVID if they were laid off or they were furloughed, which it's insane. That's like $15, $16 an hour. I know most people make more than that. However, unemployment, you typically don't get that much money back. But I don't know, man. It just goes on and on. The trillions of dollars that was wasted during COVID and the trillions of dollars that were wasted after that, plus all the green policies we were dealing with. But anyway, not to keep going on about it, but I'm just saying at the end of the day, as of right now, the middle class, we're not really seeing any relief, not from anything that she's talking about. Now, our country might be seeing a relief. As a whole, I'm sure we're going to be seeing relief, and maybe that will trickle down to us. And I know the tax cuts are happening. I know that happened, so I know we're going to get more money back on our check. I'm just saying, with regard to everything that's increased so much in cost, it's simply not enough. Not right now, it's not. Houses, they got to get back down to like drastically down, like $200,000. I don't know if it's possible. I don't know. But I don't even know. I don't have the answers to everything. What do I know? But anyway, I'll go ahead and continue. But like I said, we are winning on pretty much every front that we can win on at this point, with the exception to the everyday American middle class individual. It's still pretty tough out here financially.
At a 3.0% annual rate, significantly above expectations. President Trump's America First policies are driving economic growth, as he always...
Yeah, quarter one. You know what the quarter one GDP was for 2025? It was negative 0.5%. Negative 0.5%. It went from negative 0.5% to plus 3% in just one quarter. That's how fast it turned around, our GDP.
Always said they
Very
would.
Good.
And this growth is being driven by the private sector, not the government. Federal government spending fell for a second straight quarter, while real business fixed investment rose by nearly 2% following its first quarter surge. President Trump is right-sizing government spending, reversing the damage done by the Biden administration, and allowing the private sector to flourish. The same so-called experts claimed that President Trump's tariffs would spike inflation and hurt American consumers. But consumer spending growth just accelerated, and inflation remains right on track.
However, to be fair, if I'm not mistaken, a lot of these tariffs, they're not kicking in until August 1st, tomorrow. If I'm not mistaken, I think that's happening, correct? I think a lot of these tariffs, they don't come into effect until August 1st. So we might not really see the long-term implications of the tariffs. And yeah, there might be some short-term price increases. Plus, there's probably going to be a lot of companies that are going to try to take advantage of it in ways that they did during COVID. There were a lot of companies that did not get affected by the supply chain shortage, but they took advantage by raising their prices regardless. So, yeah, we might see some short-term issues. But look, if somebody raises their prices, don't buy it. It was just announced either today or yesterday that Tide, the laundry detergent, they're raising their prices because they're blaming the tariffs. So now you're going to have to pay more for a bottle of Tide. Well, don't buy Tide. Just buy another product that isn't raising their prices. Just simple as that. And then Tide, they'll have to act accordingly.
For the past 5 straight months, core inflation has come in below market expectation and remains in line with the Fed's 2% inflation target. Meanwhile, customs and tariff revenues have already totaled more than $150 billion since President Trump took office, leading to the first June budget surplus in nearly a decade. Those revenues will skyrocket even further starting tomorrow when new reciprocal tariff rates take effect. President Trump is restoring America's economic sovereignty by reducing our reliance on foreign countries, boosting investment in the U.S. to the tune of trillions of dollars, and creating hundreds of thousands of high-paying jobs for the American people.
Let's go.
With America finally put first on trade and the largest middle-class tax cuts in history and other pro-growth provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill beginning to take effect, the American economy will boom like never before over the course of the next 3.5 years, thanks to the president's vision.
Yeah, and there's a lot. I mean, obviously, she's got more papers to go through, but the same with energy, unleashing energy, drilling more, also getting rid of a lot of red tape with our nuclear facilities, paving the way for us to beef up our energy needs. That's going to be another big win. And yeah, the list does go on. I mean, they're making these huge changes in very positive ways. Just like the EPA, Department of Energy, they're getting rid of these like carbon emissions and all that bullshit that was enacted back in 2009. They're going to roll that back, which is really going to open up a lot of opportunities in manufacturing, which is going to be amazing. It's going to be a huge help to our country for sure. But yeah, we probably won't see relief obviously in the coming weeks. So long term, it's definitely going to be a relief. At least it seems that it will be. with all this money, man. So much money coming in hot. All right, so from Rapid Response 47, once again, breaking, press secretary announces the construction of a new 90,000 square foot ballroom at the White House, with construction to begin in September. And you can visit whitehouse.gov/visit for more. I'll be linking that in the description. And let's see. Announcement regarding upcoming expansion. For 150 years, presidents, administrations, and White House staff have longed for a large event space on the White House complex that can hold substantially more guests than currently allowed. President Donald J. Trump has expressed his commitment to solving this problem on behalf of future administrations and the American people. The White House is one of the most beautiful and historic buildings in the world. Yada, yada, yada. Let's see. A tent. Oh, yeah, they've been using a tent approximately 100 yards away from the main building entrance. White House State Ballroom will be a much-needed and exquisite addition, approximately 90,000 square feet, ornately designed, carefully crafted, about 650 people, which is a significant increase from the 200-person capacity in the East Room of the White House. Let's see. In recent weeks, President Trump has held several meetings with members of the White House staff, the National Park Service, the White House Military Office, and the United States Secret Service to discuss design features and planning. Trump has chosen McCreary Architects as a lead architect, which is well known for their classical architecture design and based in our nation's capital. CEO Jim McCreary said presidents in the modern era have faced challenges hosting major events at the White House because it has been untouched since President Harry Truman. Really? They haven't added anything to the White House since Harry Truman, huh? I'm honored that President Trump has entrusted me to help bring this beautiful and necessary renovation to the People's House while preserving the elegance of its classical design and historical importance. Hopefully, they'll make it as authentic as humanly possible. If I'm not mistaken, I believe the White House was constructed out of Indiana limestone. So when they're adding to the White House, I would at least hope that they're going to be using the same type of limestone, even from the same region as they have been all along. At least that's what they should do. I mean, hopefully they're not going to make any shortcuts and not use, let's say, limestone as part of the exterior or maybe even the foundation. Not sure, but hopefully they'll stay as authentic as possible. But here, they got a few pictures. Let's take a look at that. And appears to be, let's see. I'm assuming that's what this is, because that's what the inside looks like with these windows. Yeah, there you have it. Very elegant. Very Trump. There's a lot of gold. I mean, I like it. I mean, gold's not my color, but I mean, it does look like the White House, kind of. I think it does. Yeah, and there it is over here off to the side. So it's interesting. I guess there's a lot more space. There's a lot more open property on the White House than I thought there would have been. So yeah, there it is. Looks nice. Looks elegant. They didn't mention when the completion date would be, right? Completed long before the end of President Trump's term. Okay. So maybe in a year? Maybe it'll take him a year, perhaps? Not sure. It's going to cost $200 million. Damn, man. Secret Service will provide the necessary security enhancements and modifications. Yeah, see, that's probably what's going to contribute to a lot of the cost. They're going to have to make all the windows like bulletproof and all that shit. It's probably going to be, that's probably where a lot of the costs are going to go up in the security department. All right, so that's a big announcement, man. They're expanding the White House. They're adding to the White House. I mean, you don't hear that every day. Not since Harry Truman. So that's big news. Maybe I should have led with that. All right, so the U.S. Interior Press, goodbye special treatment for unreliable wind. Hello, affordable, reliable energy. Check this out. This is from the Daily Caller. Trump halts preferential treatment for unreliable foreign-controlled wind energy. The Department of the Interior announced on Tuesday, as soon as I adjust this, Let's try one more. Yeah, that it is ending preferential treatment for what it calls unreliable foreign-controlled energy sources that were favored by the Biden administration. The DOJ unveiled 4 key policy changes aimed at promoting affordable, reliable energy development in America while scaling back support for renewable energy. DOI Secretary Doug Burgum directed his agency to repeal policies that favor wind and solar and to reconsider the vast areas of land and water allocated for wind development under the previous administration. Quote, these policy changes represent a common-sense approach to energy that puts Americans' interests first, said Burgum, leveling the playing field and permitting supports energy development that's reliable, affordable, and built to last. We're also making sure tribes and local communities have a real seat at the table. This move is about responsible energy growth that works for every American. Let's see, at the heart of the reforms is the Secretary's order titled Ending Preferential Treatment for Unreliable Foreign-Controlled Energy Sources in Department Decision-Making. The order directs the departments to identify and eliminate policies that favor wind and solar whose supply chains are controlled by foreign rivals. China holds at least 60% of the world's manufacturing capacity for green technologies, energy technologies, such as wind systems, solar panels, and batteries, according to a 2023 report from the International Energy Agency. And DOI's Tuesday announcement builds on President Donald Trump's July 7th executive order titled Ending Market Distorting Subsidies for Unreliable Foreign-Controlled Energy Sources. So yeah, they're rolling back all this green crap, and we're finally getting back to energy that's really going to benefit everybody and hopefully drive down the costs. And maybe we'll see some relief on our electric bills. That sure as hell be nice. Reliance on so-called green subsidies threatens national security by making the United States dependent on supply chains controlled by foreign adversaries, reads the executive order. Ending the massive cost of taxpayer handouts to unreliable energy sources is vital to energy dominance, national security, economic growth, and the fiscal health of the nation. So let's see. They're also talking about withdrawing of certain federal designations for onshore and offshore wind development. Let's see. At the end of the Biden administration, over 3.5 million acres of offshore areas were designated as wind energy areas, allowing the federal government to auction them for wind development. Good grief. Let's see. Generous tax credits, subsidies, offshore wind projects. So they're rolling back all this shit. Under Buttigieg, the department reportedly failed to issue safety recommendations for over 100 wind projects. Dude, he didn't do jack shit. He had no qualifications at all to run that department. Not at all. Or administration, or whatever you want to call it. All right. So that's going to be linked below because I know there was more information. I don't have time to go through all of it because there's still a little bit to get to here. So this is from DNI Tulsi Gabbard. New whistleblower reveals how they were threatened by a supervisor to go along with the Obama-directed Russia hoax intelligence assessment, even though they knew it was not credible or accurate. The whistleblower refused. Yesterday, let's see, let me make this a little bit bigger. My bad. All right. So yesterday, we released the whistleblower's firsthand account of what happened in the crafting of the January 2017 ICA, their years-long efforts to expose the egregious manipulation and manufacturing of intelligence carried out at the highest levels of government in the intelligence community, detailed in our previous releases, and how they were repeatedly ignored. Thank you to this courageous whistleblower and others who are coming forward now, putting their own well-being on the line to defend our democratic republic, ensure the American people know the truth, and hold those responsible accountable. Read the whistleblower's explosive stories with emails here. And that's going to be linked in the description. It's 19 pages in total. Of course, it's too much for me to dig into, but that will be linked below for your browsing pleasure. Yeah, see, look, yeah, they got emails here. Intelligence oversight. SAF/IG statement that, quote, our office is not informing congressional committees, end quote. Ooh. So this must be from the whistleblower reaching out saying like, hey, all this nefarious shit's going on and somebody's got to do something about it. At least that's what it seems. January 23, 2023, June 22nd, 2023. So yeah, man, a list of emails. So this is yet another bombshell, certainly, which DNI Tulsi Gabbard came out 8 hours ago and dropped that information. For immediate release, this is titled Russia Hoax Whistleblower Threatened. Multiple attempts to report wrongdoing were ignored. Very fascinating. 61,000 likes in 8 hours. 1.7 million people have seen it. Wild. Oh, yeah, speaking of Tide, I didn't realize that I actually added this to my list. So this is from the Washington Post. The maker of Dawn dish soap, Charmin toilet paper, Crest toothpaste, and Tide detergent will raise prices in August because of tariffs, a sign that other major retailers will follow suit. So, I mean, I guess I'll read a couple of comments. I don't want to go through the article because, I mean, the article, all it's going to do is just talk about how tariffs are bad and everything's going to get more expensive because Trump's big, bad, evil tariffs. But let's see. Comical, if anything, all these brands are benefiting from tariffs. Yeah, I would say they are. They're using this as a reason to recoup costs. I don't know about recouping the costs. I would say that it's a reason for them to just simply jack up the costs. Let's see. They might raise prices hoping others follow suit, but when Americans gravitate to the cheapest reliable products, then what? Let capitalism do what it does best. That was from yours truly. Yours truly! Anyway, from Butthurt. Butthurt. Then they should produce them all in the U.S. to avoid tariffs. Problem solved. Exactly. So make that shit in the United States. It cannot be that hard to manufacture soap, paper, and toothpaste. Yeah. Why don't people see how they've been conditioned to believe Americans cannot make anything for themselves? Right. Make it in America and there are no tariffs. Yeah, that's the whole point. That's the whole point. I mean, it's 2 points, really. One is to level the playing field, reciprocal tariffs, that we're getting a fair deal because we're paying other countries' tariffs. So seems fair that we charge tariffs too. But also, yes, it incentivizes American companies that have offshored themselves just to save a buck. You got to come back. Got to come back home. Come back home. Make it in America and there are no tariffs. I'll buy American. Then they will go broke. Not my problem. Buy local. Buy American. Absolutely. I actually have a bumper sticker on my car, on my rear windshield. It says buy local. So I absolutely love buying local anytime that I can. Might be a little more expensive, but I do it as often as I can. 100%. Also, buy your detergent from Costco, the Kirkland brand. Same product with better pricing. I mean, I get my detergent from Aldi. I mean, I know some people, they say it's woke Aldi. Yeah, they kind of bought into the DEI shit. I get it. But at the end of the day, that's all I can afford, man. I can't afford Publix. Publix is too expensive. I used to, but everything's gone up, man. 30% grocery prices. Are you kidding? So I'm just lucky that I've got an Aldi around the corner, man. So they're saying they cannot make this product in the United States. Where are they making it? Yeah, where indeed? Probably China. Wouldn't surprise me. All right, so let's move on from that. Mike Lee, he is responding to Geiger Capital. Thank you, Western nations, for sacrificing your economies to save the planet. You just buy everything from China now. Yeah, look at this crap, man. This is crazy. Annual CO2 emissions. This is carbon dioxide emissions from fossil fuels and industry. Land use change is not included. And this is going back, you know, they're being a little extreme here, but back to the year 1750. I mean, come on. Let's just start from 1900 and move on. But anyway, yeah, you can obviously see China around 1950. It was practically non-existent. And then, like, probably, I'd say like the 1970s, right? Wasn't that kind of when China started ramping up production, more or less? And, of course, as you can see, it skyrocketed. Probably from what? 2000? When would 2000 have been? Probably roughly about here, right? That might have been like the dot-com bust, possibly. And that might have been COVID maybe right there. But yeah, absolutely skyrocketed. United States kept going up, and now it's on the decline. But now that President Trump is turning things around with regard to the EPA and all the emissions and all that, hopefully we'll start to see us turn back around. But yeah, he's absolutely right. All we did was we just pushed all of our manufacturing over to China. That's why China's is up so high, because China doesn't have an EPA. They don't have emission standards. I mean, they pretend like they're going to try to obey the global standards set by whoever it is, the EU or WHO or whoever the hell does it. I know there's some like emissions entity that tries to police the world's carbon output, but China doesn't give a fuck. They don't care. And frankly, none of the other governments truly care either. They pretend that they care just to keep the brain-dead rabble happy, the NPCs who buy into all this shit, without realizing, isn't carbon dioxide food for plants? Don't trees like carbon dioxide? Don't trees turn carbon dioxide into wood? Isn't that what wood's made out of? Isn't it pure carbon, basically? I don't know. I remember learning about that in high school, but apparently they're not teaching that shit in school anymore. It's kind of a travesty. But anyway, Mike Lee, he said, let's double our carbon emissions. Plant food. Speaking of which. Yeah, for lack of a better term, plant food. Because that's what carbon dioxide is. It's good for the earth. It's not bad. It's good. Plus, earth warming is better than earth cooling. Life does better in warmth. Life dies when it gets cold. All right. Especially when it gets cold enough. What would you prefer? Would you rather have the earth warming, let's say 5 degrees, or cooling 5 degrees? I would say cooling 5 degrees would probably be a lot worse than it sounds. Anyway, from Rep. Stephen Horsford, I met with residents, caregivers, and staff at a nursing home in my district to talk about how the GOP's big ugly bill threatens senior care. Oh, so you're going there to brainwash your constituents. Okay. Medicare is an earned benefit, not a bargaining chip. I'm committed to protecting it from cuts that would jeopardize the care and dignity our seniors deserve. And I would almost guarantee that nobody that he spoke with, they're losing their Medicare. They're just not. Unless they're double dipping. Unless they're getting Medicare and they're getting other insurance from somewhere else. Maybe then they might lose something, but yeah, this dude's just an idiot. Whatever. So, let's see. Official account for the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy says the Presidential AI Challenge is a national challenge and competition for America's youth to apply AI-powered solutions to everyday problems. Registration opens soon. Learn more at ai.gov. The Presidential AI Challenge. And this is on orise.orau.gov. Presidential AI Challenge seeks to inspire young people and educators to create AI-based innovative solutions to community challenges while fostering AI interest and competency. Students and educators of all backgrounds and expertise are encouraged to participate and ignite a new spirit of innovation as we celebrate 250 years of independence and look to the next 250. So if you have any young ones in your life, any children, especially, I would say probably, middle school age, maybe high school age. They don't give it an exact age group. I mean, not without reading further into this, but yeah, definitely. That would be very interesting because I'm sure for most adults, AI is probably just completely foreign. I mean, some of us, we know how to use things like Grok and ChatGPT, and there's some AI image rendering apps that you can use. I use what's called GenCraft. It's a fun app to use. So, AI, it's encroaching into our daily lives a little here, a little there, maybe more with some than others. But kids, they tend to gravitate toward technological advancements extremely well. And I'm sure that there's some young ones out there that would probably just excel like crazy with regard to AI and what you can do with it. So, yeah, with the president, they got an AI challenge. All right, so Erica Knight. Kash Patel helped expose Russiagate the first time. Now, as FBI director, he found what previous leadership tried to hide. Burn bags of Trump-Russia docs in a secret room. The Durham Annex is declassified. So I already mentioned that earlier. Not really a double post, but I came across this one first. The ones that I start up at the top, those are the ones that I most recently come across, and down here near the bottom are the oldest ones that I came across. I wish I could reverse the list. I would really love nothing more than to do that, but X doesn't let me do that, so I just kind of have to do that. Either that, or I can start at the bottom and scroll up throughout the entire video, which that's not going to be pleasing on the eyes. All right, so from Political, apparently, and this was, oh, never mind. They're replying to Eric L. Daff. Apparently, insider trading is fine, but exposing it is what puts the republic in jeopardy. Peak government logic. Your transparency threatens democracy. And she's holding the stock trading ban while he's got stock certificates stuffed all over his pockets. See Seems about right. With regard to, I'm assuming, the Pelosi Act. I don't know if you heard about that. I didn't come across it in none of the politicians were talking about it. The government agencies and administrators, the top officials, nobody mentioned it from what I saw today. So it's not included in my list. I know it happened, but I don't want to focus these daily episodes on the mainstream media and news articles specifically. I want to focus more on what our bureaucracy is talking about, what our officials, our elected officials, what our governmental agencies, what they're talking about on a daily basis. And I didn't really hear anything about this Pelosi bill, but I'll bring it up now that I'm talking about it. Or the Pelosi Act. Let me see here. Because I believe that's what this political cartoon is in reference to. So let's see here. Rip second tier over his Pelosi Act congressional stock trading ban. Trump rips him? Well, I know that. So, some of them, they want this to go into effect after the end of the administration, while others want it to be put in immediately, which means that if this were to go into effect, then President Trump would have to divest from all of his stocks, essentially. Like, if he has any stocks in his portfolio, he has to essentially get rid of them. And I'm assuming that's what they're talking about with Josh Hawley. He's probably against holding off until the end of the administration. So Senator Josh Hawley banded together with Democrats to advance the Pelosi Act out of committee without the chairman's blessing. I might come back to this, but just one sec. Let me see here. I don't want to get into the drama. I just want to get into what it is. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I want to focus on. So congressional anti-stock trading ban is also known as the Pelosi Act. How do you like that? That's fitting, says GOP Senator Josh Hawley, Republican from Missouri. I know, I'll get to that. Chill out, Fox News. Assesses the anti-stock, as in the stock market, as in Wall Street, the anti-stock trading bill and President Donald Trump's new nickname for him on Jesse Watters' Primetime. So we'll just give this a quick listen. He should give the rundown as to what this means. If you're just now hearing about this, the Pelosi bill, it has to do with Congress insider trading. Essentially, this would bar all members of Congress from owning and trading stocks while in office. So if you've got a large stock portfolio, then either you sell it or maybe you transfer it to your spouse. I don't know if that would be allowed or not, but essentially you cannot buy and sell and trade stocks while you're a sitting member of Congress. And I would say almost everybody probably agrees with it. I know I sure as hell do, because that's how Nancy Pelosi gained a net worth of $250 million, because she engaged in insider stock trading. Because being the Speaker of the House, she knew what pieces of legislation would lead to certain companies getting extremely wealthy as a result of these bills getting passed, and she had control over which bills got to see the floor and which ones didn't. And of course, her on, I don't remember who it was, on MSNBC or CNN today, she was asked, I think it was on CNN, and they pressed her about it. They're like, so what do you think about this whole this Pelosi Act thing? And she was like, well, it's all false. It's not true. I'm not into stocks. That's my husband's thing. That's what he does. Yeah. So you mean to tell us that you didn't verbally tell your husband, like, hey, we just passed such and such bill. Buy a shitload of NVIDIA. You didn't hear it from me, but buy a bunch of NVIDIA. I mean, come on, give me a break. I mean, we know that she's just as fucking corrupt as everybody believes her to be, because she is. Anyway, let's see if Fox News will play this. I know Fox News is really wonky. We'll see if it works.
Could be in big trouble.
So far, so good.
Investigators might finally get a peek inside Nancy and Paulie P's earnings sheets.
Nancy Pelosi should be investigated, because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street. It happened by, she knows exactly what's going to happen, what's going to be announced. She buys stock, and then the stock goes up after the announcement's made.
Nancy heard the news and ran to CNN on a busted hip, but Tapper treated her like Biden on debate night.
Good.
Nancy Pelosi came rich.
Why do you have to read that? We're here to talk about the 60th anniversary of Medicaid. That's what I agreed to come to talk about.
But I wanted
what that means in the election.
I wanted to give you a chance just to respond. He accused you of insider trading. What's your response to that?
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the trading of members of Congress. Not that I think anybody's doing anything wrong. If they are prosecuted and they go to jail. But because of the confidence it instills in the American people, don't worry about this. But I have no concern about the obvious investments that had been made over time. I'm not into it. My husband is.
I'm not into it. My husband is.
Yeah, my husband's as if like she never fed him any information or anything like that. So real quick, I'm going to read this. In 1987, and I'm reading this from my phone, this is from Google. So I asked, how much was Nancy Pelosi worth when she entered Congress? 1987, when Nancy Pelosi first entered Congress, her net worth was approximately $3 million. According to sources citing financial disclosures from that time, her net worth ranged from between $2.5 and $5.5 million. As of late July 2025, Pelosi and her husband, Paul Pelosi, are estimated to have a net worth of over $240 million, with one source estimating it at $260 million. This significant increase occurred during her time in Congress. Let me read that again. This significant increase occurred during her time in Congress, of course. Her current assets include substantial stock holdings in major companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Salesforce, Google, and Amazon. Interesting. It's as if all these companies got extremely wealthy, powerful, influential after 1987 when she entered Congress. Isn't that funny? And a lot of them gained a substantial net worth while she was Speaker of the House. But anyway, let's see. Paul Pelosi's firm, Financial Leasing Services. When did he start that, Financial Leasing Services? It's involved in venture capital, real estate, and investments. Together, they own commercial and residential real estate valued at approximately $45 million, including a vineyard in fucking Napa, California, and properties in San Francisco, of course. So let me just real quick. All right. When did Paul Pelosi start? I'm just curious to see when he started that company. Was it after 1987? Probably. Let's see. The specific founding date is not available in the provided sources. You really can't even give me a ballpark, Google? Well, then I'm just going to have to assume it was well after 1987 because it probably was. But let's see if there's any more that they're talking about here. If it'll let me play it. Yeah, there we go.
Wall Street whiz kid and his wife knows nada. If pillows could talk. Meanwhile, the Senate's suiting up too. They just advanced an anti-stock trading bill for Congress. But Trump's not pleased. He says, why would one Republican, Josh Hawley, side with Democrats to block a review of the bill? It's a great bill for Nancy and her, quote, husband, but bad for our country. Trump even gave Hawley a new nickname,
really?
Second-tier senator. Josh Hawley joins me now. Are you a second-tier senator?
Oh, here's Josh Hawley himself.
That's not the worst thing that's been said about me even today, Jesse. So, listen, I had a good chat with the president earlier this evening, and he reiterated to me he wants to see a ban on stock trading by people like Nancy Pelosi and members of Congress, which is what we passed today.
And
I think it's absolutely vital we put a stop to this. Pelosi shouldn't just be investigated. She should be prosecuted.
Absolutely.
And we need to make what she is doing and other members of Congress is doing illegal. I mean, you shouldn't be able to go up to Congress and get rich by trading on information that only you have and not members of the public right now.
Yep, and remember what I read. That was from Google, what I read. You know, progressive Google. She went in worth $3 million and she left Congress at $250 million.
Now, lots of members of Congress are getting by with it. We need to make the whole thing illegal.
So when you spoke to the president, did he explain why he called you second tier?
Well, I think that the president, a number of people who are opposed to banning stock trading had said to the president that he would be covered by the bill. He'd have to sell Mar-a-Lago and sell assets. Not the case at all. The president and the vice president, all their assets are totally exempted. And here's the point. This is what we talked about.
It'd be after the
point of this bill is to ban members of Congress from trading on the information that only they have. I've supported this bill for years, Jesse. I think we call it the Pelosi Act.
I think everybody
It is named for her because she is the poster child of this kind of behavior. It ought to be illegal and it ought to be prosecutable.
So what Pelosi will say is that she doesn't manage any money. Her husband manages the money.
That is such a bullshit
Her husband
loophole.
makes the trades.
That is
and she
fucking
has
appalling she would
nothing
even
to
say
do
that.
with it. Does this bill have a loophole that she can exploit again?
Obviously.
Yeah, no, in fact, this bill will cover not only her, it will cover her husband. And the
Good.
point is, we need to make it illegal for people to do this kind of thing. 86% of Americans look at stock trading by members of the Congress and they say, we ought to ban that. They can't believe it's
I'm
not
sure it's
been
higher
banned
than that,
already.
frankly.
Nobody should be up in Congress making a quick buck day trading when they should be doing the people's business. The president wants a stock trading ban. I want a stock trading ban. It's time to get it done.
All right, sounds
All
like
right.
common sense to me. Senator Hawley,
Well,
great
I'm
to talk
curious
to
to
you. Thank you
know.
again.
I mean, Jesse Waters didn't really press it that much, but I'd be curious to know why exactly Trump was so against him on it, though. And, you know, why are they... I mean, why are they at each other's throats, or why Trump's at his throat over it? Here, let me just make sure that it doesn't play anything else. Okay, good. Yeah, I think it's not going to, but I'll link that stuff in the description as well. So let's move on. Anyway, the reason why I played that is because I'm sure that obviously this pertains to that, and it wasn't mentioned on. Oh shit! It wasn't mentioned in any of the posts that I read, and I read just about everything that scrolled in front of me throughout the day, and I didn't come across any with regard to that. So, all right, so let's head back down. Let's see, where are we? I think we're down past this. Yeah, we're down past all this. Moving along, move along. Here we go. See, we're near the end. All right, Secretary Doug Burgum. The Department of Interior is ending special treatment for unreliable green energy sources such as wind to focus on more reliable, affordable sources in alignment with POTUS, his energy dominance agenda. This move is about responsible energy growth that works for every American. Way to go. Moving forward. Look at this. Fort Hood is back. Check this out. Burning back gate. Fort Hood. All right. It's back, baby. Fort Hood. Fort Hood, Fort Hood. Howard Lutnick. Today, we agreed to another historic trade deal. The Republic of Korea will provide $350 billion for the United States to invest as President Trump, I didn't mean to click on that, but as President Trump directs, with 90% of the profits going to the American people. South Korea also agreed to purchase $100 billion in LNG and other energy products from the United States over the next 3.5 years. Additionally, when the president of South Korea visits the White House in the coming weeks, President Trump and President Lee Jae-myung will announce the enormous investment South Korean companies will make in America. South Korea's reciprocal and auto tariff rate will be set at 15%. They will also not be treated any worse than any other country on semiconductors and pharmaceuticals. Steel, aluminum, and copper are not included and remain unchanged. These trade deals reflect the clear understanding that President Trump's tariff and trade agenda has the power to reshape global commerce. I could not be prouder to help deliver on President Trump's promises to the American people. Trade and tariffs are how we make America great again. Amen. Let's go. South Korea. All right. From Secretary Kennedy, 40% of the food industry in this country has taken the pledge to remove synthetic dyes from their products. Republicans and Democrats have been trying to do this for over 20 years. This finally happened because of your leadership, Mr. President.
You know, about 3 months ago, I met with the food executives, and I asked them to voluntarily come forward and get rid of food dyes, of the 9 synthetic petroleum dyes. And this is something, again, the government, Democrats and Republicans have been trying to do for 20 years. And the industry came forward, and now 40% of the food industry in this country has taken the pledge to remove food dyes from all of their foods. So that happened because of your leadership, Mr. President.
That's awesome. And I'm assuming it's only going to go up and up. 40, 50, 60%. Let's get it up to 100. Let's go all the way. Even they're putting freaking fake food dyes in our freaking meat. When I learned about that, it's just unbelievable. Well, because we want our meat to look more presentable at the meat counter. So we have to inject red dye into it to make it look redder than the meat really naturally is. we don't want it to look gray because gray doesn't look nice. Well, if you never fucked with it in the first place, then nobody would even have a problem with gray meat or whatever off color of red that it naturally is. All right, so the White House unleashing American energy. We're on energy again, man. The topic of the month, not just the big beautiful bill, but energy. That's the talk of the town in D.C. So from the New York Post, hooray for President Donald Trump and EPA Chief Lee Zeldin for moving to roll back trillions, with a T, trillions of dollars in federal mandates by undoing the Obama-era greenhouse gas endangerment finding. So, yeah, it looks like this is going to happen. They are axing EPA's endangerment BS, which will unleash a new era of U.S. prosperity. All right, and that's where we're going to end it. That is all I got for today. For the 31st of July, 2025. Tomorrow's Friday, y'all. It's Friday. And I'll be back with a whole nother set of stuff that the DC Swamp is talking about tomorrow. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. And leave a comment if you have anything to say with regard to the content from today. And I just might feature your comment on tomorrow's video. So thanks again for watching, and God bless America.